to winning isn't easy. Wheelchair-bound policyholder wrongfully denied benefits by MetLife. Remember, the disability insurance companies and carriers are going to face scrutiny when their assessments clash with the realities of an insured's medical condition. And I think this is an extreme example, but one that's educational. I'm going to tell you about Rick Lalonde, who was injured in a hit-and-run accident, and he couldn't work as a manager in a sterile processing department at Providence Health and Services. He had spinal surgery, he had chronic pain, he had mobility deficits, and he had to use a walker and a wheelchair. MetLife initially approved his disability claim under the Providence Group policy. But in April of 2019, MetLife learned that he had been arrested, charged, and convicted of attempted murder. Prison medical records documented ongoing treatment for his pain and mobility issues. But MetLife's doctors looked at the records and said, no functional limitations from a physical or psychological perspective, even though, of course, he was still wheelchair-bound. And that led to a termination of his benefits. And Lalonde appealed after his release. Now, ultimately, this case went to court. And fortunately, there was the de novo standard of review, which is important because that allows the judge to substitute their own judgment for that of MetLife's. So what did the court do? Well, they said, look, the preponderance of the evidence showed that his symptoms documented functional limitations consistent with the policy's definition of disability. And they looked, of course, at the prison medical records. The court emphasized that they were impressed by his long treatment history, his continued use of mobility aids, and the treating physician's opinion. It actually gave greater weight to the treating providers who had direct knowledge of his condition over their liar-for-hire peer-reviewed doctors. The judge really criticized MetLife for selectively cherry-picking the medical records to fit their narrow framework to justify that claim determination. I will tell you that this case demonstrates that insurers cannot disregard treating physicians' opinions even when the insured is incarcerated. In reality, I think what made the difference in this case was that the gentleman had spinal surgery, had chronic pain, had to use a walker, and was wheelchair-bound before he went into prison. Does anybody think anything is going to change, that there's a miraculous cure? Certainly not with prison care. And so I think it was the severity and nature of his physical functional restrictions and limitations that really impressed the court and made them say, look, this was a bogus denial. You're looking for a reason to deny and terminate benefits, and you hung your hat on that when you, in fact, had paid benefits prior to his incarceration. And what had changed? Well, nothing had changed. So I think that was a great result, but you can't be assured that that's going to be the result every time. Got it? Let's take a break.
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy, with tips and to-dos that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you don't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we're giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.